Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept our humble obeisances. All glories to Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Sri Gurudev. And all glories to Samud Vaishnavi devotees. Devotees, we thank you all for being here today. We have His Grace, Sri SALIKA Prabhu, who will be speaking to us today. So, of course, Prabhuji does not need introduction. He's one of our own. He's one of our hosts and one of the familiar faces you will see on Hare Krishna Africa Forum. If you followed the post that was shared, you might have seen a different speaker today. We live in a world where things move so fast and it's full of eventualities. So there was a situation that our speaker could not speak today. So His Grace SALIKA Prabhu kindly offered to step in to speak on behalf of our originally scheduled speaker. So Prabhuji, we thank you so much for stepping in to speak. And without further ado, we may put the verse on the screen and then you take it over from here. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayana Namaskritam Narayachaivam Narottamam Devi Saraswati Vyasam Tatujayam Udirayet Nasta Apraishu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavatam Sevayam Bhagavati Uttamasloke Bhakti Bhavati Naistiki. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of God and Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. By regular attendance in classes on the Srimad Bhagavatam and rendering service to the pure devotees, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed. And loving service unto the personality of God, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Hare Krishna. So today we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam. We're reading from the second canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, the cosmic manifestation, and we'll continue our reading from chapter 9. Today we'll be treating text number 14 and 15. Text number 14 has no purport, so we'll read 14 and 15. So we read the Sanskrit text. Striyatra rupine rurugaya padayo karoti manam bahuda vibhuti bihi prekam sritaya kusum makaram nugahai ige yamana priya karma agayati. Translation. The goddess of fortune in our transcendental form is engaged in the loving service of the Lord's lotus feet and being moved by the black bees, followers of springs. She is not only engaged in variegated pleasure service to the Lord, along with her constant companions, but is also engaged in singing the glories of the Lord's activities. Text number 15. Dadar satatakila satatam patini Sriya patim jagna patim jagar apatim So Nanda Nanda Prabalaba Ana Adibi Wapa Sadangra Parise Vitam Vibo. Word for word translation. Dadasaha Brahma saw Tataha there in Vaikuntha Loka Akilaha entire Satwataham of the great devotees. Patihim, the Lord Sri Yaha of the goddess of fortune. Patihim, the Lord. Yagna of sacrifice. Patihim, the Lord. Jagahat of the universe. Patihim, the Lord. Sunandaha, Sunanda. Nandaha, Nanda. Prabala, Prabala. Arhanaha, Arhana. Adebi, by them. Swapashada, own associates. Agra, by the foremost. Paris with being served in transcendental love. Vibohum, the great Almighty. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace. Shilabai Charnaravinda. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Jagaguru, Savior of the worship of Prabhu. Yeah. Lord Brahma saw in the Vaikuntha planet the personality of Godhead, who is the Lord of the entire devotee community, the Lord of the goddess of fortune, the Lord of all sacrifices, and the Lord of the universe, and who is served by the foremost servitor, like Nanda, Sunanda, Prabala, and Ahana, his immediate associates. Purport by His Divine Grace, by Charanaravinda. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. When we speak of a king, it is naturally understood that the king is accompanied by his confidential associates, like his secretary, private secretary, AD-CAM, ministers, and advisors. So also, when we see the Lord, we see him with his different energies, associates, confidential servitors, etc. So the Supreme Lord, who is the leader of all living entities, the Lord of all devotee sects, the Lord of all opulences, the Lord of sacrifices, and the enjoyer of everything in his entire creation, is not only the Supreme Person, but also he is always surrounded by his immediate associates, all engaged in their loving transcendental service to him. Hare. Omagyanam timirandasya Jnanam Jnanam Chala Akaya Shaksho Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Nama Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupam Kadamayam Dadati Swampadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Pada Kamalam Sri Guru Vaishnavamsha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahaganam Ragunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvitam Sarvadutam Parijanam Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Adivam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahaganam Lalita Vishika Vitamsham E Krishna Karuna Shindu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kantarada Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangira Devi Davaneshwari Rishabhanu Shute Devi Pranamamin Haripuye Mokam Karoti Bachalam Pangam Lagayate Girim Yat Kripat Ambande Shri Gurum Dinatarina. Vancha Karpataru Vyascha Kripa Sundubhyas Ivascha. Patitanam Pavatnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Srivasadi Gaurabhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Dadatsa tattakila sakwatam patihim Sriya patim yagna patim jaga patim Saunanda nanda prabala anadibihi Swapasada grey parisevitam vibu. Lord Brahma saw in the Vaikuntha planets the personality of God, who is the Lord of the entire devotee community. The Lord of the goddess of fortune, the Lord of all sacrifices, and the Lord of the universe, and who is served by the foremost servitor like Nanda, Sunanda, Prabhala, and Adhana. His immediate associates. Hare Krishna. So once again, we welcome all of the devotees to this Srimad Bhagavatam class for today. As the host has explained, dear God brother, His Grace, Ganga Prasad Prabhu was supposed to be speaking today. But due to circumstances beyond human control, he's not able to make it. So we are fortunate and blessed by the Vaishnava Acharya's grace to be sitting here to discuss Srimad Bhagavatam with you all. In the invocational prayer, there is a prayer we often recite. Mokam karoti vachalam, pangum lagayate girim, yat kripa, tam aham bande, siri gurum dinatarina. That prayer in translation says that by the mercy of the Guru, even a dumb man can become the greatest orator, and even a lame man can cross mountain. In the Bible, there's a similar statement which was said by Christ, that if we have faith like that of a mustard seed, very similar to this statement that is said in a miniature body with no any spiritual qualification. According to the very scriptures, a child is born and considered to be a human, the real sense of being a human when he has parents has followed the Garbhadhan samskara. But for us, born in this part of the world, there was nothing like Garbhadhan. There was not even a Western samskara, not to talk of Garbhadhan samskara, as depicted in the very scriptures. But by the mercy of the Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is the merciful incarnation of the Lord, who appeared in this age of Kali, and the merciful glance and touch of his divine grace, Srila Prabhupada, we are blessed by the opportunity to be able to hear, speak, and converse about the Srimad Bhagavatam. And this is very unique. It is very unique because we're discussing about a subject matter that is very complex, according to the material calculation. According to material calculation, when we talk about the subject matter about God and this abode, those who have chosen not to develop loving relationship with the Supreme Lord or God proclaim that the kingdom of God, its activities, its pastimes are like an imagination. Whatever description that is given about the Lord in its true sense by the great souls, the Mahatmas, those persons who are not interested, who are not fascinated, who are not qualified, who are not interested in the subject matter of love of God, they consider it to be an imagination. However, Lord Krishna himself, he has declared in so many scriptures, both Western and Vedic scriptures, that his abode is not a myth. And this fact is corroborated by the great souls and great saintly persons as revealed through various authoritative scriptures like the Srimad Bhagavatam that we're reading. And one such experience is what we are hearing from Lord Brahma, who is describing here, who has seen this the supreme destination of the God, of the supreme personality of Godhead. This abode of the Lord that is declared in the revealed scriptures that one who attains it never returns is inconceivable by those who have not become fortunate. Like Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself said, the spiritual world is self-effulgent. It is full of spiritual bliss. And it is infused with love of God as described in the text 14 by those devotees who are associates of the Lord. In that abode, there is nothing material. It is without any trace of all kinds of material experience, hunger, taste, anger, calamities, difficulties, incoherencies. In fact, it is said that even time, that is the controller of everything in this material world, is very conspicuous by its absence in that abode. The supreme abode of the Supreme Personality of God, its transcendental abode, cannot be reached by material means. So therefore, it is a misery for those who are materially conditioned in the material world. Because that abode is transcendental, only those who are Mahatmas, great souls, can understand, can conceive it. And the scriptures are not very blind or vague in the matter of the qualification that is required to enter into that spiritual kingdom. It is clearly depicted that one must be purified of the misconception. And what is the greatest of all of the misconceptions in material life? It is that conception that I am this material body. So the beginning of being able to understand this kind of a narration is that one comes to the platform whereby it's free from the misconception of Ham Mamei. And that only is possible by only one process: the execution of devotional service in pure love of Krishna. And that is why Krishna himself declared that Bhaktima Mabija Nanti Yavan Yashas Mitatuta Tatota Fato Gyatam Vishatitam Anantaram. Only this is the qualification. And when one develops this kind of a loving sentiment, Krishna himself, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the chief among all of the entities, it reciprocates by giving the intelligence by which one can be promoted to that abode of his and be able to visualize that abode where the devotees become eternally happy. So here, Lord Brahma was confused. And after going through the process of purification, when he came to a level of realization, he is having a darshan of the Vaikuntha planet. The spiritual abode or the spiritual kingdom of the Supreme Personality of God, the Lord Krishna, is called Goloka. Go means cow. Loka means abode. The abode of the cows. That is where the Lord lives. Lord Brahma nicely depicted that in the Brahma Samhita, and he is reiterating it in these texts that we are reading in the Srimad Bhagavatam. In that abode, it is said that there are Surabi cows. Those Surabi cows give unlimited quantities of milk. There are desire trees, which anyone can take all kinds of fruits on as he may desire. In other words, the trees there are wish-fulfilling desire trees. The land in that abode of the Lord is said to be made of touchstone. And in the material experience, it is said that when such touchstones are touched to the iron, they become transformed. In the same way, when one is touched by the sentiment of bhakti, it becomes a Mahatma, a great soul. And it can conceive and understand this abode of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Here, in the verse that we are reading today, the two verses, Lord Brahma is said to have seen Vaikuntha planets. And in that abode of the Lord, Lord Brahma is seeing an interesting experience. The Vaikuntha planet is said to be above this material local. According to the very scripture, these material planets are called Devi Dham. And above this Devi Dham is that abode, which is called Shiva Dham, or the abode of Lord Shiva, which is above this Devi Dham. That abode, Lord Shiva and his wife, Parvati, eternally is residing in that abode. And above that planetary system, in the spiritual sky, where innumerable spiritual planets known as Vaikuntha planet are situated. And above that Vaikuntha planet is Krishna's own planet known as Goloka Vrindavan. So Lord Brahma here is seeing that abode of Lord Vishnu in the Vaikuntha planet, where he is graciously being served in several ways by his associates. And here the glories of Mother Lakshmi Devi, goddess of fortune, is being described in the 14th verse that we're reading. And what is the significance of Lord Mother Lakshmi Devi? In the very beginning of the Bhagavad Gita, in the purport of the very beginning of the Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada very nicely gave us an inkling in actually Bhagavad Gita chapters 1 to 6, the beginning of Bhagavad Gita. In all of the purports, Prabhupada was explaining nicely how the goddess of fortune is present, always present. And wherever she's present, there is always a victory. And Prabhupada was using that in the Bhagavad Gita chapter 1, text number 14 purport. Prabhupada said, victory is always with persons like the sons of the Pandu, because Lord Krishna is associated with them. And wherever and whenever the Lord is present, the goddess of fortune is also there, because the goddess of fortune never lives alone without her husband. Just like it is described here in the Shiva down. Lord Shiva is conspicuously present with his consort, Mother Parvati. So wherever you find the name Krishna, wherever you find Krishna, Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there is no how you can find him alone. Goddess Lakshmi is present there. And this is significant to our practical application. All forms of difficulties or challenges that we are experiencing in the world today is as a result of the fact that the living entities in this material world wants the Lord without his consort, Lakshmi Devi. Because wherever there is Lakshmi Devi, in the story of Sudama Vipra, we have an experience. Sudama Vipra was a poor Brahmana. And even though he was this friend of that most supreme personality of Godhead, he was so poor. And his wife was constantly chastising him. How foolish are you? You are the friend of the most celebrated personality, Lord Krishna. And you are very poor like this. Go to him. Go to him. Those of us who are in the fiesta, like we have this kind of experience. Sometimes your wife will chastise you. You are lacking in this house. And you claim that you are very celebrated. You have so many friends. You said you belong to the most wonderful organization, ISKCON, the global organization that has the most pronounced and founded expansion all over the world. You said you belong to a very powerful organization and you are poor. Look at you. Just look at your life. You said you belong to the most wealthiest organization in the world, ISKCON, but you are poor. So Sudama Vipra's wife would trickle him like this. So after so much of pressure, Lord Sudama Vipra decided to go to Lord Vishnu, Lord Krishna in his abode. And what naturally happens? Because the Lord is never alone. She's always with Lakshmi Devi. And then in that part, our forms is unlimited, just like the form of the Lord is unlimited. Just as the Lord's form is unlimited, Lakshmi Devi's form are unlimited. And she manifests in as unlimited forms, as the unlimited forms of the Supreme Lord to give satisfaction to the Lord. And this is very significant in the life of us as a devotee. Wherever there is lacking, wherever there is discrepancies, it means that although we seemingly think that we are with Krishna, but we are actually not with Krishna, because if we are with Krishna, Krishna will be there with Lakshmi. Because wherever there is Krishna, Lakshmi was present. And wherever there is Lakshmi, there can never be want. So in one sense, it is said that the presence of the Lord is seen by how, of course, sometimes this could be bewildering, because in the material world, we see so many wealthy persons who have so much more material wealth. We're not talking about this kind of wealth. And the distinction between this kind of wealth is that, and that of this wealth that we're talking about, is that those kind of wealth is inflicted with all kinds of anxiety. Maharaj Ambarish was a pure devotee of the Lord, so opulent. He never experiences any anxiety. So when one is wealthy, when one has opulences and is in anxiety, know that that opulence is questionable. It's material world as a result of punya karma. But when the Lord is present in the life of a devotee, he is present with our consort, Lakshmi. And such environment is never experienced any forms of lacking. So in the text, it is explained. There are several verses in that chapter 1 of the Bhagavad Gita. The Prabhupada is emphasizing. In the text number 15, Prabhupada said, on the other side, there was no such credit, nor the presence of Lord Krishna, the Supreme Director, nor that of the Goddess of Fortune. So they were predestined to lose the battle. So in other words, Prabhupada is emphasizing that when Goddess of Fortune is not present, or when the Lord is not present, Goddess of Fortune is not there. So therefore, there is no auspiciousness. And when Goddess Fortune, Goddess Lakshmi Devi is there with the Lord, Prabhupada explained in the purport to text number 15, you can never see the Lord alone. Just like even in the material world, you never see a president going out all alone. He must be with some guides, no matter how simple he wants to exhibit. In fact, it is said that the symptom of a great person is that he's always with somebody. The Prabhupada is emphasizing, is explaining in the purport very nicely that just like when you see a king, the king is accompanied by his confidential associates. So in the same way, when the Lord is present, wherever the Lord is manifested, you will see his devotees. His confidential associates are always with him. He's never alone. The Lord is always accompanied by his associates. And Prabhupada mentions some few names who are eternal associates of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So when we talked about this being in the association of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it is explained that one has to develop the qualification to be in that association. Lord Brahma did not magically have the darshan of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It happened only by the costless mercy of the Lord. because of the plea, because the Lord is pleased. So we see that the Lord becomes pleased, and automatically he gives his DASA to those who he has pleased with. It is said that a fool can be understood by what he speaks. Similarly, we can understand who is a pure devotee of the Lord by hearing their words. Lord Brahma here is exhibiting that. It is said in the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam that the Supreme Personality of God, Krishna, in the 11th canto, chapter 1, text number 6 to 7, there is a very nice text and purport there. Prabhupada very nicely gave a very interesting purport in that chapter of the 11th canto. The text says that the Supreme Personality of God, Krishna, is the reservoir of all beauty. All beautiful things emanate from him, and his personal form is so attractive that it steals the eyes away from all other objects, which then seem devoid of beauty in comparison to him. When Lord Krishna was on the earth, he attracted the eyes of all people. When Krishna spoke, his word is attracted the minds of all who remember them. By saying the footsteps of Lord Krishna, people became attracted to him. And thus they wanted to offer their worldly activities to the Lord as his followers. In this way, Krishna very easily spread his glories, which are shown throughout the world by the most sublime and essential Vedic verses. Lord Krishna considered that simply by hearing and chanting those glories, conditioned souls born in the future would cross beyond the darkness of ignorance, being satisfied with this arrangement, it led for the desired destination. This is the reason I'm quoting this verse. It says that by simply hearing and chanting these glories, conditioned souls who are going to be born in the future where we are today will cross beyond the darkness of ignorance. And Prabhupada gave a very nice purport. He said that according to Sridhar Swami, these two verses indicate that Lord Krishna, having achieved all the purpose for which he had descended, went back to his spiritual kingdom. It is natural that people in the material world anchor to see a beautiful object. In materialistic life, however, our consciousness is polluted by the influence of the evils of material nature, and therefore we anchor for material objects of beauty and pleasure. The materialistic process of self-gratification is imperfect because the loss of material nature will not allow us to be happy or satisfied. Very powerful statement. The materialistic process of sense gratification is imperfect because the loss of material natures will not allow us to be happy or satisfied in our material life. Thank you very much, everybody, for bringing it up. This is a course for those who want to have the darshan of the Lord and at the same time be happy in material sense gratification. So this is the qualification. The Lord is visible, is available. The Lord is so perfect, and he has made a perfect arrangement that by hearing these glories as depicted by the Mahatmas among Shiv, who among is Lord Brahma himself, by hearing in one interview, one of the richest men of our time, one great businessman, Jack Ma, in one interview was asked, so you're such a very powerful, successful businessman. You have attained so much, and you have created a global business platform that is definitely going to live longer than yourself. So how do you attain this success? This is a material interviewer asking this question. So the glories has been depicted by Lord Brahma here It's not as much as how does he attain that platform. The natural tendency is that we want to see what the Brahma see. But the forgetfulness is that we never ask. And that is the challenge of those who are not going to be successful. They never want to know what it takes to get what. Lord Brahma did not magically, I repeat, have the darshan of the Vaikuntha planets. He went through a process. And in this verse quoted in the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Lord has given us a very wonderful key to also having the darshan of the abode of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Just by listening, by hearing and reciting these wonderful transcendental narrations of the Lord activities, which he himself enacted and has described by his pure devotees. It didn't say those who are in those times, because sometimes when we read the scriptures, we'll say, well, it is in the Satya Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, Treta Yuga. It is not for Kali Yuga. He is saying here clearly in that verse, he said, those who will be born in the future, they will. In other words, that benediction is not limited to those who are present when Lord Krishna was present on the earth planet in Dwapara Yuga. The benediction is present now, is achievable now. So therefore, just like Lord Brahma is visualizing the Vaikuntha planet, both Salika and Sahadev can see also Vaikuntha planet. But we have to develop, we have to achieve the qualification first. Regular hearing. And in that verse that we often read when we are starting to read the Srimad Bhagavatam, Nasta Aprayesu Abadresu, Nityam Bhagavatam Sevaya. Bhagavati Uttamas Loki Bhakti Bhavati Naistiki, that by regular attendance in classes on the Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering of service unto the pure devotees, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed. Why did he say almost completely? Because by hearing and narrating, by hearing this Srimad Bhagavatam, is the first step. The second step that we have to recite. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu make that very easy for us in this age. And what did he say? Arai Nam. Arai Nam. Arai Nam eva kevalam. Kalau nasti eva nasti. Eva nasti gati. Anyata. Just by chanting this powerful holy name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So we have to hear and we have to chant. But the unfortunate thing, the Daivam, it is Sam, Ihananu, Ragaha. We have no attraction for chanting and hearing this holy name. Nam nam akari bauja nija sarvasa tis tatapita niyamita maranira. Eta disi tafakri pabagwan mama dudaivam idisam ihananun raga. We are not attracted to it. We are not interested. Yet we want to have the vision like Lord Brahma see. Lord Brahma, he was given the Vedic Chatusloki. And he recited Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, which is the mantra for that time. And he was able to realize the Lord. Dhruva Maharaj chanted that name. And in this age, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, in this age of Kali, these 16 words, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Ram, Hare Hare, is invested with all that is required for purification, for removal of the cloud that is covering the vision conditioned soul in the car, you attract the presence of the Lord and his devotees. How that will happen, Lord Krishna said we should not worry. He said we should not worry about it. Tisham said, Fakta yuktanam bajatam priti purvakam. Rami buddhi. I will give the intelligence how it will happen, but don't worry, just chant my name. So the Lord and his associates are eternally engaged in eternal activities. And these glories of this narration of Vaikuntha abodes and the transcendental experience, pure loving experience that emanates, that is engaged in that abode, can be experienced by one who take to this process of Krishna consciousness seriously. And that is the purpose for which we are being given the opportunity to read and hear. So the Lord, whenever he is always surrounded by his immediate associate and only engaged in his loving devotional service. And when we attract the Lord by this process of chanting the Harinam, Hare Krishna, Maha Mantra, we all can also visualize this transcendental abode and all of the doubts, confusion, desires will be automatically fulfilled just by that one process. Sudama Vipra did not go to Krishna to ask for table, for shares, for houses, for gold. He simply went to the Lord. And because he met with the Lord, everything was provided. So when we come in contact with the Lord by sincerely, and I repeat, sincerely chanting the name of the Lord, hearing this sincerely, these transcendental pastimes, the Lord will manifest not only in our heart, will manifest before us, and we will see him face to face. And like one of my godbrother will say, we will have a shake hand with him and say, yes, Krishna, welcome. So here you are. I've been looking for you all this while, and he shall say to us, welcome, Sahadev. See, here I am. Have my handshake. Hare Krishna. So I'd like to stop here and then give opportunity for the devotees to also share their expressions, ask questions, make their comments, so that we can further relate the transcendental narration of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So once again, the translation is Lord Brahma saw in the Vaikuntha planet the Personality of Godhead, who is the Lord of the entire devotee community, the Lord of the Goddess of Fortune, the Lord of all sacrifices, and the Lord of the universes, and who is served by the foremost servitors like Nanda, Sunanda, Prabhupada, and his immediate associates. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, His Grace SALIKA Prabhu. Beautiful. But I have lots of questions from this particular part of the Srimad Bhagavatam, this chapter, because it describes the Vaikuntha planets. And I've been so eager to want to know what's going on in the Vaikuntha planets. You know how like you're itching to visit a country you've not visited before, and you just want to know what's going on in the place. You want to familiarize yourself even before you get there. So I've been having this crazy sentiment, and I'm wondering what Lord Brahma is telling us, all these beautiful things Lord Brahma is telling us about the spiritual world. If I may be allowed to play the role of the devil's advocate, which I do not think is the devil's advocate per se, it is my own mundane thinking. But since everything is possible, I want to ask, Lord Brahma is telling us all these beautiful things about the spiritual world. And we understand Lord Brahma is a mundane living entity who is being awarded such a position. And because he is not the Supreme Lord, he could be making mistakes. So, what if Lord Brahma is telling us is due to hallucination and not due to reality? Maybe he was just having some dreams and was seeing these things. What do we say? Whether it is real or it was maybe Lord Brahma had some good night of dreams that particular time. This is my crazy worry and concern, wanting to know. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Sadi Prabhu. You said something. I will read again before summarizing the answer to your question. That text that we read, 11th canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 1, text number 6 and 7, in the purport, in the middle of the first paragraph, Prabhupada said that the living entity is constitutionally an eternal servant of God and is meant to appreciate the infinite beauty and pleasure of the Supreme Lord. Lord Krishna is the abode, absolute truth, and the reservoir of all beauty and pleasures. By serving Krishna, we can also share. This is the key. By serving Krishna, we can also share in his ocean of beauty and pleasure. And thus, our desire to see beautiful things and enjoy life will be fully satisfied. I read this part again. Thank you. Why? Your question is, maybe Lord Brahma will be telling us some hallucination kind of a dream. Yes, it is possible for a conditioned soul. It could hallucinate. So why not, if not? But when we read this text, Prabhupada very nicely, there is something that is key that Prabhupada is saying there. He said, by serving Krishna, we can also share. So therefore, the activity of a person depicts the nature of that person. If somebody is in a beer parlor and they say, I'm seeing Bhagawan Krishna is dancing, you immediately can tell. So therefore, Prabhupada always said that a fool is never known until when he speaks. But when one activity depicts the nature of that personality. So Lord Brahma, who is speaking here, what are his antecedents? What happened before that moment when he starts speaking? If somebody says to Sade that Pennsylvania is a forest full of dangerous animals, there are no living houses there. All you find there is some deadly forest with very ferocious animals. Without even answering the person, what will naturally happen to you? You will laugh sarcastically because you know he's not telling the truth. Why? Because you have been there. You've seen the place. So in the case of Lord Brahma did not just start speaking. Before Lord Brahma started speaking what he is seeing, his activities before that, when we read, often the Brahma Samhita, it is interesting when we're reading Brahma Samhita, we often read from text number 29. Benu Konantam Haravindam Dalayatasam That is the verse where we normally like to begin to read. But when we go back to the beginning of Brahma Samhita from text number 5 forward, it clearly depicts the activities of Lord Brahma, what led to what Brahma was saying. So Lord Brahma, so if somebody has gone to the beer parlor and he has taken one carton of Gulda or some alcohol and he starts speaking, nobody will tell you what kind of whatever he's saying. Nobody needs to tell you how much you should take it seriously. So by the activity, and that is what that purport of chapter 1, text number 6 to 7. That's what Prabhupada gave that so activities of a person, it depicts how seriously we should retake that personality. When Srila Prabhupada came to the West, Srila Prabhupada, when he got to London, people were telling him, a particular reporter said, we all know God here. We have been serving God all our lives. So what are you coming to tell us? Papa said, what you know, but you have forgotten, I've come to tell you. But another person asked Prabhupada, are you perfect? Papa answered in a very beautiful way. He said, I'm not perfect, but whatever I said is perfect because I'm only repeating a perfect person. So before Srila Prabhupada came to the West, we see the life of Prabhupada, what he has engaged his life in, how he has engaged in austerity, how he has read the scriptures, how he has lived the scriptures. So when he's speaking, he's an authority. So if someone says, well, maybe Lord Brahma is hallucinating, maybe spelling or something, then that means that person himself is a fool, number one. Because if an intelligent person does not judge person based on the face value, it judges the person based on the credential of that person. Even in our material experience, nobody is admitted into any environment, whether it is school or workplace. They look at, okay, you said you want to be employed as a medical doctor for this hospital. What are your experiences? What have you engaged in? What have you done? Then you bring out all of what you have done, your credentials. So the credentials of Lord Brahma clearly depicts the fact that Lord Brahma wasn't hallucinating. He has fulfilled the condition as depicted by the Guru Sadhu Sastra, that one who has gone through this is his experience. And that is what Prabhupada is telling us in that purport of 11th canto, that if we also do this, this is going to be our experience. And in the text itself, he said, not just for those of that time, but even those who are going to be born in the future, that is even ourselves, man. What Lord Brahma saw, we can see. So Lord Brahma wasn't hallucinating. I hope that helps.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much for the answer. And the analogy you were giving, that if somebody should tell me Pennsylvania is full of jungle, wild animals, you were saying that I would just smile or something sarcastically. No, I will consider the person to be a complete fool. Just like you said, I'll look at the individual and say, look at you, fool. You don't even know what you're talking about.
I was being modest.
So thank you so much for the answer. And Lord Brahma, Lord Brahma knows that I just want to know more about him. So if he felt offended, please, he should forgive me, Lord Brahma. Shriman Prabhu, please you may unmute. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. I don't know if you're hearing me well. I'm driving.
Okay.
Am I
we can still hear you.
Oh, good, good. All right. So I like at first my obeisance is SALIKA PRABHU and all
Okay.
the assembled devotees. And anyway, I like the way Sahadev ended the comment on his own question because I was.
There was a break, Prabhu. Can you repeat?
Yeah,
or is it my network?
Are you hearing me clear now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yes, go ahead.
So I said that I like the way Sahadev commented on his own question, the last comment he gave, because I was itching to speak. But thank God, you know, he kind of doused my tension. So, of course, SALIKA PRABHU answered very nicely. But still, I think we as devotees, we know that what distinguishes the knowledge that we're receiving from any other knowledge is the very fact that it's beyond mistake. It is free from mistake, it's free from illusion, it's free from the tendency of cheating. And you know, so this is what we learn right from the beginning, that distinguishes the very truth from all other truths. Yeah, and besides that, I will also say that besides Brahma revealing to us the abode of God, of course, which we will not find anywhere else. But besides that, he also gave us so many knowledge, many other truths, which we can prove. We can have a you know, direct perception of some of the things he has said, besides the ones we cannot see. So that is not the only knowledge Brahma gave. Brahma gave so many knowledge, which our sampradaya and parampara are repeating. So if you don't think Prabhupada is hallucinating, which is the closest person to you from Brahma, from the line of Brahma, if you don't think Prabhupada is hallucinating, then why should you think that Brahma is hallucinating? Our own Guru Maharaj, when you heard from him, you felt so much convinced and inspired by all what he was saying. And you never thought he was hallucinating. So, but these are the people coming from the line of Brahma. So the people coming from the line of Brahma, we do not see them as hallucinating. How can we think that Brahma is hallucinating?
Exactly.
Anyway, so those are some of the thoughts going on in my head. But thank you for yourself for saying that. You know better than that. Now I have a question. I think SALIKA PRABHU, you were saying something. Yeah, it's a question, right? You were saying something which is very interesting. People want to see what Brahma saw. People want to see the vision of Brahma. And you give a very nice example that people do not care to know the process, but they want to see the result. Just like the material question posed to the rich man. How do you make it? How did you get to this point of your success? So that's a very brilliant question. Not just wanting to say, how can I also, I want to be rich like you, but do you care to know how I get there? So that's a very brilliant point. Now, my question is, when you were saying that the process is hearing and chanting, which is undoubtable. However, there is a problem. You see people hearing and chanting for donkey years, but it looks like something is still missing. Something is really missing. You see that people will be hearing and chanting. So it looks like maybe there's more to that. Because if you just hand this over to somebody, just hear and chant, that's all. And they've been doing it all along. But then when it comes to, making a proof of what they've been hearing and chanting, It's like they've never heard it before. So what is the problem? I think something else is there that is like, that's my question. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for bringing out this point. So the question is, we are all chanting, and it is said that by chanting, this is the process. I'm just taking it from where you stop. When the Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave us the holy name, it is said that just by chanting just one's name, Krishna, one attains the highest level of realization. In fact, Srila Rupa Goswami mentioned that just this two-syllable word, Krishna, if one is able to just chant, just Krishna, it becomes self-realized. So one start wondering, for 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, we've been chanting, we've not seen what the Brahma is saying. So the answer is given in the Padma Purana and the Brahma Kanda of the Padma Purana, where the 10 offenses to the holy names are given. So what is missing, like you rightly said, something is missing, something is amiss. What is amiss is the offenses that is committed against the holy name. We all are chanting. Because of our chanting with offenses, our chanting remains in offensive chanting. In some cases, we rise above offensive chanting. When we consciously chant as a devotee, we come to Namabhas. And when one even comes to the Namabhas, according to the Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur, you can see in the life of such a person. In fact, ordinarily, if someone is not very careful, they start considering that person a pure devotee. Because when you see someone who is chanting in Namabhas, it's such an highly elevated level of chanting that already at that stage, very wonderful spiritual qualities start manifesting in that person's life. Because at that level of Namabhas, the person starts, it is the reflection of the chanting of the holy name, but as reflective as it is, it's so powerful that it has the capacity to transport the chanter to the level of pure chanting. So it is said to be a very highly elevated platform of chanting. So what is amiss? What is wrong? What is why we chant? They chant, he chants, I chant, she chants, and we don't get the same result. Is the level of our freedom from the 10 offenses that is against the holy name. And we all know the 10 offenses against the holy name. The first one among them is to blaspheme devotees who have dedicated their life to propagating the holy name of the Lord. And then when we look inwardly deeply and ask ourselves, how much am I free from this? Nobody needs to check for us. To consider the names of demigods like Shiva or Brahma to be equal or independent of the names of Lord Vishnu. How much am I free from these offenses? To disobey the order of the spiritual master, how much am I free from that? To blaspheme the Vedic literatures or scriptures in portions of Vedic scriptures, how much am I free from that? To consider the glories of chanting the holy name of the Lord as an imagination, how much am I free from that? Well, sometimes we're chanting and we're thinking, does this name actually work? Why am I still going through this, all these things? That doubt comes. It is not bad. It is said to be welcomable because from doubt sometimes we rise to faith. To give some mundane interpretation to the holy name of the Lord, to commit sinful activities of the strength of chanting the holy name of the Lord, to consider the glories of chanting Hare Krishna as one of the ritualistic activities offered in the Vedas as fruitful activities of Karma Kanda, to instruct the faithless person about the glories of chanting the holy name of the Lord, to not have complete faith while chanting the holy name, and to maintain material attachment even after understanding many instructions on this matter. So these offenses are the mixed thing. They are the in between our chanting and the result of chanting. So therefore, it is not just chanting and hearing. One has to chant and hear offenselessly. The first stage is to start to chant, which is the glorious platform that one starts to chant the holy name of the Lord. But when one starts chanting the name of the Lord, he has to consciously avoid the 10 offenses against the holy name of the Lord. And as one elevates himself by abstaining from these 10 offenses of the holy name of the Lord, the real now, the holy name of the Lord, the real name of the Lord will manifest on the tongue of the chanter. And at that moment, the person starts experiencing the result of the Namrupa, or the form of the holy name of the Lord. I hope that helps.
Yeah, okay, you try, but I want
there is still more.
Yeah.
I like that. Lord Tita Mapa also says like that.
Yes, I mean, like, you've answered very textually, like, speaking according to, to the book, But then sometimes we should rise beyond being pedantic, when we when we give answers just based by the book, it limits the understanding. Let's be more practical.
Okay.
And that is the thing I'm trying to say. Two things. One is motive of chanting. Because these offenses, one way or the other, one will be guilty of one of them. And one way or the other, one of them at least will be guilty of it. So we will never rise above, none of us. I mean, at least majority of us. But then there is something, which is the motive. Why are you chanting? And what is your thinking when you're chanting? What are you chanting for? I mean, if you read my post today, Daily Nudges, you could see those two devotees, Ram Das and Vishnu Das. Why were they chanting? Even Lord Shiva agreed to come and give them darshan, but he told Parvati they will not benefit. You see that? So sometimes we have wrong motive for chanting. And then that makes the syllable that you're pronouncing, you're only pronouncing the letters. You're not calling Krishna the person. There is a difference when you're repeating syllable and when you're calling the person. So anyway, that is that. I don't want to give a class. The second point is, what was that? Yeah. The second point is, well, it goes along maybe offenses, yeah. But that is because our vision or our understanding of what God is very limited. I've been repeating this, and I hope that, somehow or the other, it will get across to many of us. What we understand God to be is very limited.
Sure.
Most often, we treat God paraphernalia. We treat God's devotees. We treat things that are connected to God like they are nothing. And you can see that in most of our devotees in ISKCON, talking about properties, talking about devotees' care, because we only see Krishna. See, your lecture, you were saying Krishna is never alone. Great person is never alone. There are things that surround that person. And if you want Krishna without those things, then it's like, you're missing the point. So this is where our problem is. Our vision of who is God is very limited. So we are stepping on God. We are committing all these offenses because we think that God is up there or God is on the altar. And then everything connected with God, Krishna's temple, Krishna's properties, Krishna devotees, everything that is connected to Krishna, we mistreat them. We do not even care that these things are also Krishna. That's what the scripture tells us. Krishna's paraphernalia, Krishna Tadiya, they are God. You have to treat them like God until we come to that point of understanding. It will be very, very difficult to be able to, get the result that we're looking for. Because Krishna It's not just the deity on the altar. It's not just God in the sky. It permeates everything. And that our vision has to start from there. When we begin to respect everything that is connected with Krishna, then we're getting closer. So this is just my 2 cents addition to what you've said. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you very much, Suman Prabhu, for the comments. And yeah, this is the beauty of Srimad Bhagavatam, that we
Hare Krishna. Seems
linear or even the form of the law, because sorry, I think my network flipped a little bit.
Yeah, you froze a little bit, but you're good, man.
Okay, good. So the point here is this, that I like the point you made on the offenses. And actually, because of our not being able to realize or relate to Krishna in its different forms and pastimes and its paraphernalia, it is because of our impurities. And that actually is rooted in the offenses against the holy name of the Lord. And we all keep trying. And I'll read your post for today. I've not read it, and I'll see some of the things you shared in that place. But it's interesting that we have everything, but yet we seem not to have anything. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. I think it's mostly because of the way sometimes our teachings is presented. Because oftentimes you realize that those who approach God on the level of a Brahman experience, they oftentimes see God in anything and everything. But because we know the Brahman realization is inferior to the Bhagavan realization, those of us who are trying to pursue the Bhagavan platform overlook the Brahman and the Paramatma realizations, but both have to be there. Actually, the Bhagavan realization also include the Brahman and the Paramatma. But some of us, if I'm not very much afraid to be truthful, I would say most of us are only concerned about Bhagavan without whatever comes along with the Bhagavan. Like Srimad Prabhu beautifully put it. We're looking out for Krishna, but we're careless about his paraphernalia. When we are told that the paraphernalia and the Lord are the same. So thank you for sharing that, Srimad Prabhu. But I have a question, SALIKA Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu.
And my question is a bit complicated. I must tell you up front. And that is, we oftentimes say, as above, so below. So in this material world, we realize that oftentimes it's very difficult to get through a man, and the easiest way to get through a man is to get through his wife. If you're able to get through the wife of that particular difficult man, and the wife becomes nice with you, then more likely you're going to have the soft side of the man. So, yeah, so my question is, how do we first approach Mother Lakshmi so that Mother Lakshmi, in turn, can introduce us to Krishna. Just as we are told that we go through Krishna, and we go to Krishna through Srimati Radharani. Okay, now it is also very dangerous to go to a woman without caring about a man. If the woman is very, very chaste, the woman will say, no, you cannot come to me without my husband's consent. And the husband may also be saying, why are you always dealing with this guy without me knowing anything? So where do we go? Do we go through Krishna? Do we go through Srimati Radharani, or in this case, Mother Lakshmi? Because we see in the pastime of Lord Vishnu and Dhruva Maharaj, Dhruva Maharaj was performing such serious penances, and Krishna was just observing, and Mother Lakshmi says, hey, my Lord, what are you doing? Look at this poor little boy, do something. And Lord Krishna says, you wait. So Mother Lakshmi actually had to push Krishna. So my question in brief is, what do we do? Do we go through Mother Lakshmi and then proceed to be introduced to Krishna? Or do we go to Krishna and then Krishna also refer us to Mother Lakshmi, or we do both together? What do we do? That's my question. Actually, it's a bewilderment. It's not a question. I'm bewildered.
Thank you very much, Sadi. You know why I'm laughing so sarcastically? Because, someone said sometimes that Africans are so powerfully intelligent by birth. The kind of our gene as an African, we're so intelligent, so much so that, and it reflects globally when you see an African origin from anywhere. When you see a person from Africa who is, average African man anywhere in the world, especially in the academia, you find them outstanding. And so someone said sometimes that when you want to, there's one Professor Baldris, one of our lecturers in one of the courses I attended, he said, you can never be able to answer an African man's question. The secret to doing that, he said it took him several years because he was teaching at a global platform. So it took him several years to be able to understand how to answer an African man's question. He said the best way to answer an African man's question is to listen to the question of an African man carefully, because in his question is his answer. So you actually have you have answered the question while answering the question, asking the question. Where do we go? How do we go? You gave a very nice story, example of Dhruva Maharaj. And Lord Krishna gave the same in the Bhagavad Gita. Tadvidi pranipate na paripasne na yasevaya padisyanti gyanam gyaninam takto dachina. Dhruva Maharaj, first guru was his mother. He approached the mother and he took the instructions of the mother, and his fortune manifested from there. In the same way, all the greatest acharya, Srila Vyasadeva, he was trying so many things. He was so compassionate, he was so concerned about the foolishness of Kali Yuga living entities. He was so concerned to the extent that he started writing so many scriptures. He wrote so many. He wrote and wrote and wrote. He was never satisfied. He broke them into four. After writing the four Vedas, he broke them into so many. He divided it into four. Even after dividing them into four, he wrote the Mahabharata. He wrote so many scriptures, but yet he was still bewildered, like me and you. He was not convinced, and he was wondering what is happening, what is going on. And Narada Muni's Guru Maharaj manifest, because at that point he started meditating on his guru. The moment he meditated on his guru, Narada Muni appeared. And Narada Muni told him what to do. In the same way, the only thing that we need to do is simple. Even though it is so complex, like you said at the beginning of the question, it's a complex question, it's a complex situation. But what to do? By rendering service, asking submissively to the spiritual master. And what is the highest of all of these instructions of our spiritual master? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. It sounds so simple, but that is where the whole secret lies. When we sincerely chant in the mood of a servant, in the mood of service, in the mood of surrender, most of, I didn't notice that before, but recently I started realizing that most of the successes that I have had, most of this greatest achievement I've had in my life are given when I'm chanting. And so therefore, sometimes it becomes difficult for me when I'm chanting. Sometimes some inspirations will come. I'll be battling whether to write it down or to continue chanting. So it took me several years to know how to manage this. So, but over the years, what I now currently do is that when those thoughts comes, the only thing I say, Krishna, I cannot stop chanting, but please benedict me so that I can remember after my japa. And sometimes they come back within the day. Because before, there was a time that I would stop the chanting, I would try to write down the prayer, and before I knew it, sometimes I would waste 30 minutes in my japa period because I was trying to jot down some inspiration that comes to me. So everything manifests in the life of that devotee who sincerely follows the instructions of the spiritual master. The Prabhupada has given us, and his disciples have given us only one thing: chant the Maha Mantra and follow the 4 regulative principles sincerely in the mood of service. And when we do that in the mood of service, chanting in that mood, that knowing that everything is inside that name, it is Chintamani. In it, everything is manifested. Everything will become manifested in our lives. How to guide us? I gave an example of Sudama Vipra while I was speaking earlier, and Sudama Vipra was getting pushed, trickled by his wife. And when he came to Krishna, Sudama Vipra was not even courageous enough to ask Krishna for anything. So the tendency is this, that most often times, and that is very interesting in that lila, that lila explains to us the approach, because most of the challenges is that most often times we want to do, and our desiring to do is what becomes our failure. When we just allow Krishna to do, that is not to become inert or to become dormant or to become inactive. But when we allow Krishna to manifest himself, there is often same statement that the gopis of Vrindavan, they don't know Krishna, but they so love Krishna so much. So sometimes devotees will think, okay, I don't even have to, I just want to, the gopis of, but the gopis of Vrindavan, they have gone through the process of knowledge acquisition. They have performed austerities. They have done every of the process of devotion and service. Only after maturity of all of those activities that they are able to attain that platform where they could unrestrictedly love Krishna without consideration of anything. So sometimes we say that the gopis, they don't know who is Krishna. They know who is Krishna. It's just that, just like in the sky in the night, we see the moon and the stars. We don't see the sun. But that does not mean the sun is not in the sky. The sun is there, but it's being covered by the cloud. Or in the day, when we see the sun, we do not see the star. We don't find the moon on the sky, but they are there because it is covered by the effulgence of the sun. So we cannot see it. So in the same way, our devotional service, what we want to do, how we want to approach Krishna, what we have to do to get Krishna, will manifest naturally. And that's what Krishna says. The Dami Buddhi Yugamtam. Because the question is, what do I do? Who should I approach? Krishna says, I will do that. I will give you that. And he went further in the next verse, said, Tisham Ivahanu Kampahantam, Aham Agyanam Jantama. Nasami Atma Bavastu, Gyana Dipe na Basfuta. He said, I, with the shining lamp of knowledge, I will destroy the darkness of ignorance that is manifesting that is covering our ability to know what to do. He said, I will destroy it with the shining lamp of knowledge. So Krishna himself will do that. It's not our headache. It's not our responsibility. Our only responsibility is to follow the spiritual master's order. And what is his order? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. The more by the will of the Lord.
Well, yeah. Thank you so much. You froze a little bit, but I think you got through anyway. So thank you so much, Prabhuji, for stepping in within a short moment of being informed and delivering such wonderful Krishna Katha. May Shri Guru Krishna continue to bless you in your devotional service. I'm just a filth, but I hope that Guru and Krishna may hear me today, that they bless you. Dear devotees, if anyone have question, comment before Prabhuji leaves, you may put your question or share your comment before we call it a day. Hare Krishna. And thank you for being here, as always.
Hare Krishna. I think devotees are
I think we'll bring the class to a close. And we're humbly going to ask the devotees to kindly unmute, and we all chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra to express our appreciation to our revered speaker, His Grace Salika Prabhu. Jai. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Bantarakalpa Narabhyascha Krapa Sindhubhya Vacha Patitanam Namo. All glories to His Grace Salika Prabhu Ki.